So I decided to skip the first impressions for this one because I wanted to be able to wear it and give you guys a performance figure, you know, on my skin, what I've been getting pretty consistently out of it. Because at the end of the day, especially when choosing clones, it's one of the more important things. Sometimes a clone could be better performing than what it's trying to clone, and therefore that's why people want to get it, and that might be the case here with this one in particular. So today we're going to be talking about Armaf Club de Nuit Iconic. This is one of the 4 new Armaf releases. They dropped them all at once. They're already available at discounters for $40 to $50. I already did a first impressions on Urban Man Elixir, which is essentially kind of like, you know, Dior Sauvage, Prada Carbon, smoothness meets Aventus. So that one, you know, a lot of people could probably do without, but this one, I think a lot of people will really end up liking. So I've already worn it consistently here. I've got a pretty good ballpark range of performance in terms of a consistent number on my skin that I'll share with you guys. And we'll dive into how this one smells and what it compares to, and I think it's worth picking up. So now, this is a situation where I wish I would have done a first impressions, only because when I sprayed this one on, something immediately came to mind. And it wasn't Bleu de Chanel at first. It was actually Roja Parfum's Elysium. The reason why is because when I sprayed this, and again, it was on my skin, when I tested it for the first time, immediately I got this citrusy lemon vetiver mixture. Right away. It was instantaneous. The second this hit my skin, I kid you not, and I got a whiff, I'm like, oh, Elysium. This is an Elysium clone. And I was pretty pumped up about it because in terms of big designer clone brands out there aren't a ton of Elysium clones, at least that have any sort of real value. Now, take that with a grain of salt because this will start to evolve. So I will tell you right away, it's not a straight up Elysium clone. The longer it sat on my skin, the more it started to change, and then it kind of started to go towards a Bleu de Chanel area. So a little bit of that kind of ambroxan, slight smokiness, some of the grapefruit was starting to come through, right? It kind of started to go in that direction. And essentially, if I were to break it down to you in the simplest way possible, it's kind of like Bleu de Chanel meets bits and pieces of Elysium. And that's kind of what it is here. There's even a little bit of this, what to me smells like orange in here, and it almost kind of has this creamy orange, like a Lacoste L'Homme type of smell, which sounds weird, but it does have that to me. But yeah, that's kind of what it is, you know, blue fragrance kind of clashing, you know. Bleu de Chanel, which is a classy fragrance DNA. It's the originator of the blue fragrance, after all, that DNA, mixing with Elysium, which is very much Roja's take, a premium niche luxury take on a blue fragrance, which in and of itself, Elysium still stands on its own. For a while now, Elysium has kind of been compared to Bleu de Chanel, and in terms of a scent standpoint, I think that's kind of a reach, but in terms of category, I can't agree with that. So it's kind of like these two worlds are meeting together. You have the classiest designer blue scent mixed with the classiest niche blue scent, and they come together. So let's take a look at the note breakdown. This is actually the first time I've officially gone through it and looked at it. Even during my testing phase with this one, I stayed away from the notes. I just wanted to focus on the scent. So let's look at it. Bergamot, pink pepper, orange blossom, and jasmine up top. So no lemon, even though to me I still pick up on a lemon accord. Lavender, geranium, vetiver, elemi, and saffron in the mid. So of that, heavy vetiver, like I had said, and some lavender giving an aromatic feel. And in the base, we have ambroxan, amber, patchouli, cedarwood, and labdanum. This is via parfumo.net. So, you know, there's no incense, there's no grapefruit, okay? And some of your other Bleu de Chanel staple notes aren't actually listed. But again, the ambroxan, the amber, the vetiver, the bergamot is very prominent. And the bergamot can be, you know, interpreted in different ways. For example, in Aventus, a lot of times what is giving you that pineapple smell is a very high impact, different form of a bergamot accord to give off that note. So really it can be used in a lot of different ways to kind of give us maybe a little bit of a grapefruit smell also. And the orange blossom is something I do get, and you know, it kind of surprised me to even see that. I thought, oh, this is my nose being weird and there's no orange or anything related to the sort, but a little bit of that orange blossom kind of floralness, kind of alluding to that orangey rhubarb Lacoste loam smell. And then again, the vetiver coming into play heavily with the citrus and with the ambroxan, the amber, whatever, to kind of give off that signature Elysium type of vibe. Like what that is known for, Elysium, is that lemon vetiver mixture with the amber. It's kind of that signature blue fragrance take from them. And so you do get that here, kind of combining a bunch of different aspects. And so I really like it a lot for that reason, you know. For me, Elysium has always been a really good performer, both concentrations, believe it or not. People think I lie about that. I don't have any reason to. I bought all of my bottles of Elysium except for one on my own. They did send me one, but I had already bought it before, and then I bought more afterwards. So I have a lot of money in Elysium, and it works great on my skin. Bleu de Chanel, the EDP and EDT are just okay performers. The Parfum is by far the best, but it does differentiate. So with this one here, you know, you're getting kind of an increased performance of a Bleu de Chanel style, but it's not one-to-one Bleu de Chanel, but it's also not one-to-one Elysium either. It kind of is taking inspiration from those areas and then doing its own thing. Because like smelling it up in the air, I'm getting a lot of that vetiver, a lot of that citrus, Elysium leaning. But then I'm also getting kind of some of that almost classy, smoky Bleu de Chanel. And maybe that smokiness is coming from the cedar and patchouli variety. Maybe they do have an incense note that they're using in here that they just aren't listing to us. Not really for sure, but you do get some of that. Now, I'm sure all of you guys are really curious about the performance first and foremost, and I was too. You know, like I said, when I smelled it for the first time, immediately it reminded me of these things. And so I'm like, okay, that's good news. We're off to a good start, but is it going to last for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours and be done? Or are we going to get some really significant performance out of it? And so we'll talk about that now. This is an eau de parfum. Says so on the bottle. And by the way, I really do like the bottle design. Forgot to point that out in the beginning, but I do think that's really quite nice. I do like it. So longevity wise, on my skin, 8.5, 9 hours on a consistent basis. And so that's one thing I try to stress to you guys is you won't get the same performance every time. It's just not really going to happen. Weather conditions can be different. The current condition of your skin could be different, whether it's more dry or more hydrated, depending, and that'll change it. How many sprays you do could change it, whether you're spraying on your skin, your clothing. There's a ton of variables. It'll never be the same every single time. So I don't want to take and tell you, oh, it performed 12 hours one time, so now it performs 12 hours and that's what it is. That's not how it is. On a consistent basis, taking the average, 8.5 to 9 is kind of what I've been getting from this. And keep in mind that's indoor testing because it's been cold outside, just been inside a lot more, and it's around 68, 70 degrees. So in the summertime, you'll probably stand to get a little bit more projection out of it. If you're wearing it in the cold outside in the winter, it'll get less projection. But the projection itself is also pretty substantial. You know, it's not a complete room filler. This DNA is not really designed to do that. You know, it's not like a Baccarat Rouge 540 type of beast or anything, Spice Bomb, you know, it's nothing like that. It's going to be of the classier variety of men's scent, and so it kind of occupies your personal space, but also goes just a little bit beyond that. One thing I have found is it leaves a great trail. So when I did that spray up in the air a minute ago, I don't have it anywhere on my skin, I'm not wearing it. I can still smell it, and I will likely still be able to smell this one in the air for quite some time after. Has a lot of hang time. So this one actually exceeds, you know, in the kind of hang time sillage category more so than the distance projection. And in terms of quality here, it's decent. No, it's not as good of quality as something like Bleu de Chanel. No, it's not as good of quality as Elysium. And I gotta be honest, guys, this isn't even as good of quality. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. This quality of this isn't as good as even something like Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Limited Edition Parfum. You can tell that it is cheaper, and not in a bad way, but it is more inexpensive smelling than that of other clones on the market that are maybe more expensive, other premium fragrances, and even other premium Armaf clones. Now, I want to be very clear and say that I'm not saying this has bad quality. I don't think it's bad quality, but I do think there are some higher quality things out there. That being said, at this price point, to me, it doesn't pose an issue. You know, clones are getting so good now, and just within the past couple years, they've really blown up in terms of their quality and their closeness and accuracy, that we can't get too spoiled and start expecting niche quality out of these clones. At the end of the day, we're still talking affordable fragrance clones. But at the end of the day, this one still has more than enough quality to kind of do what it's supposed to do here. And when you guys are mostly going to be wearing it just as an everyday scent to smell good to people around you, it's got more than enough for that. And so that's really about it to me, guys. You know, I don't think there's much further we can really dive in. It just wouldn't really make any sense. Bleu de Chanel meets a bit of Elysium, but with its own twist. Very much going to be a blue scent, and I think that doesn't really come as a surprise to any of us based on the marketing of this overall and the note breakdown. If you're into blue fragrances, then this might be something that you'll want to check out. You know, if you want a better performing, more consistent performing Bleu de Chanel take, and maybe Elysium performs horribly on your skin, then you could check this one out and maybe you'll have some better luck with it. I do really like it a lot. I think it's great. Love the vetiver in here. It's a nice soapy clean vetiver. This will be very wearable to work, to the office, to school, whatever. Doesn't have to be an office job. It could be a blue collar job, working outside, whatever. It's going to work. You're going to smell great. You're going to smell classy and refined. I will provide a link to this one down below for you, and that's pretty much going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.